It is react time. Today we are going to be reacting to Endwalker is the worst FF14 expansion I've ever played. How dare she say that?
Zepla HQ.
Alright, we're going to see what she has to
Hey
say.
Buns, today we need to talk about the Endwalker patches because
I think we do need to talk about it. Yeah.
look, this is a video that I wanted to make quite some time ago, but I myself actually got really burnt out for the first time in the entire time I've been playing these games, which
That's pretty true. She's actually been playing like Genshin Impact and shit for like the past fucking 6 months or something like that. I think she did a bit of Honkai Star Rail or something
since
too.
2015, since Heaven's Ward.
Yeah.
I've been an active player ever since then, and it was the first time that I actually felt like I really needed to step away and take a breather.
I feel like a lot of
and I
people
did.
have
I
that
did just
sort
that
of
because although I had thought about a
feeling
lot
at the
of these
moment.
things,
And there's a lot of
I was
reasons why.
thinking,
We'll see if she
well,
gets
am I
into
just
it.
being burnout? Am I being unfairly negative? Am I being a hater? So I took that break and I came back feeling refreshed,
Not really.
and revitalized, and in love with the game again, and I'm having fun again. I'm, working on my glams. I'm raiding. I'm doing the hunt trains. I've got my bluebird bow, which I love, and
Where is this from, by the way? Is this the tome weapon for Bard? Is that what it is? I'm gonna have to check that
I can't wait to
after.
get the bunny staff. These are amazing.
That one is the
Looking
tome
forward to Dawn
weapon.
Trail.
Yeah.
Looking forward to the Fan Fest in London.
Dawn Trail trailer was cool.
Back in love with this game that means so much to me and is really home for me. But with all that said, looking back now with a much more clear mind, I think I definitely feel that the concerns that I had before, some of them definitely had real merit. And I think it's not a coincidence that it's not just me, but almost everyone I know seems to be burnt out with FFXIV right now and just not logging into the game or raid log.
Okay, I don't know if I would say everyone is burnt out. I think if you've been playing the game for a really long time and you don't have ideas beyond or you don't have goals beyond like completing raids. She just said raid logging, right? If you don't have goals beyond maybe getting relics, whatever, then yeah, I can understand why you'd be extremely burnt out on it right at the moment. If you have more like goals than what the game tries to give you, then you're probably doing
maybe in
fine.
5 years, so.
But if you've done everything, like if you 100% of Bozja and Eureka, you're probably fucking out
Yes,
of your
there's still
mind
one more patch, but we know exactly what is
by
going to be in
now.
it because, for better or for worse, this has been very, very predictable too. And I'm seeing social groups sort of dissolve, and it sucks. I'm concerned about the state of the MMO. And although I'm not doomsaying, okay, don't get me wrong. I'm not out here like, oh, well, this is the end of FXIV. It's all over. It's ruined. No, I'm not saying that, okay?
FF14 is dead? New video? What the shit?
What I'm saying is that there are concerning signs, and I'm seeing less engagement from everyone I personally know. And then I thought,
yeah,
well,
it's because the developers aren't encouraging that engagement at the moment.
My
They're
group
just
of
not.
people that I know. So I went on Twitter and I asked the question to do a vibe check of the community. Be honest. How do you feel about the Endwalker patches? And I was honestly shocked by the number of people that just felt like it's underwhelming, it's lackluster, it's just not that interesting.
There are definitely a lot of people which aren't happy with it.
It's terrible. I hate it. It sucks. That's not really what I'm hearing.
It's people who are getting bored because I guess I think there's a lot of reasons.
I don't really care that much.
There's one specific reason actually.
I'm hearing like it's okay, and honestly,
yeah,
that's not gonna cut it. Like, if we want to keep people playing this game long term and have people to play with, I feel like the game is gonna have to find ways to get more people excited about it and get more people happy, looking forward to log in. I can't wait to log in and play FXIV because, especially this year, I think what we're starting to see is that there are a ton of really quality games coming out, and they are, for better or worse, and competition for your time. And it's
True.
wonderful that
There
FXIV
have
does
been a lot of
not,
really, really good games this year.
pressure you
A
so
lot better
much to
than
log
last
in.
year. That's for
It has
sure.
never done that. But in the past expansions, we have
Alright, so let's talk about something real quick. All the people who keep saying, well, if you're not happy with it, you should take a break from it. Alright. Well, that's true. It doesn't fix the issue of why people aren't currently happy with it. Right? There's a lot of people out there who are just like, well, if you're feeling burnt out or you're not enjoying it, it's your fault and you should take a break. It's not your fault in Endwalker. It's not your fault that you feel like you have nothing to do in Endwalker's endgame. It's actually not. It is purely a design choice. There's a lot more that they could do to encourage people to keep playing the game, but they haven't done it.
although the game hasn't been pressuring you too much to log in, there have been exciting things that we could all log in together to do.
It's
People
yeah.
had reasons
There was a
to
lot
do.
more stuff in
Yes,
past
it is
expansions.
normal for after a patch has been out for a while, people to get burnout and bored. It's normal for at the end of an expansion's life cycle for people to get, well, I'll just go do other stuff. That's okay. That always happens. But what I'm seeing is this happening
It's happening
soon
earlier.
after, like a week after a major patch
Yeah,
comes out,
pretty much.
or like I started to see this phenomenon after the
Criterion
first major
is
patch
dead
of the
in
whole expansion.
in fucking
One
2
patch,
weeks.
two patch.
2
Quick
weeks
patch.
it's gone.
This should not be as big of a phenomenon as it is so early on in the life cycle of the expansion, and so I'm worried, and we're going to talk about all the contributing factors. And if you're having a good time, good for you. I'm not going to tell you that you shouldn't be having
Yeah,
fun.
I mean, I'm still having a good
Having fun, right?
time because
Keep at it.
I've got a lot of
But
I've got a lot of stuff planned, a lot of goals. Like I'm doing all the Blue Savages right now. I'm doing Palace of the Dead. I'll be doing Heaven on High. So I've got a lot of stuff to be doing. I'll be doing the fate farming for the Wither. I'll get into that a little bit later, but I'll be farming just I'll be doing the firmament and all that as well. Right? Like I've got a lot of stuff to do still. So I'm overall happy. I'm overall still fine with it, but there's a lot more that could be in the game right now, but it just isn't.
It's just not as good. It's not a single player game, even though lately it feels like they are trying to turn it into that. One thing I keep hearing from people is that, oh, I'm burnout. But I don't think that's even the right word, because with burnout, you think normally that's when you do something so much, so often, every day, so hard and so long that you just get sick of it and you can't think about it.
Yeah, alright, so that's true. And now it's the complete opposite, where it's people who play the game no longer are doing it as much, but they're feeling burnt out because they feel like they've done everything already really soon after the patch drops. Because there just isn't anything to keep you staying around.
You don't want to think about it anymore. You're tired of it, and it's such a relief to stop.
Anything new,
This
that
isn't
is.
really what I'm seeing with people. If these are people that want to do something, it's more like how burnout is actually thought of in the car world, where you just sit there, you stay put, and you're spinning the wheels, but you're not going anywhere. Getting in the car, there's a lot of smoke. This car could be fun to drive at some point, but that point is not right now because you are stationary. Now, one thing that I'm really tired of hearing, and I think a lot of us are at this point just sick of hearing, is, well, Yosha P says that you can just go play other games.
Yosha P says you can play another game if you want. If you're not happy with it, Yosha P, he tells you to go do something different. Yes, but that's not the issue at hand. The issue at hand is there's nothing keeping you around in the first place to get to the point where it's like, well, if you aren't happy with it, right? Everybody now, like, there isn't something to keep people around is the issue.
Go play other. Well, that's what I've been doing. Okay, I played other games for 6 months. Yes, I'm glad I can play other games. I'm glad that FFXIV doesn't pressure me to the extent that World of Warcraft used to. But I think that these are two ends of
There
the
should
spectrum.
be at least a
World of
bit
Warcraft
of
being on
pressure
the extreme end
to
of, oh my
keep
God, I have
people
to be on this
engaged.
treadmill and I have to
Not
keep up
this
with it all behind
insane
me. Such-
pressure of
That's the way
every day you
burnout
must be doing
quickly.
something. Yeah.
And now FXIV is so far and going further in the other end of the spectrum of, oh, there's so little pressure on me that I could either do this today or I could do it next year. You know, like this
Exactly.
also has a similar effect of just having people not in the game. they're just not playing the game. Ultimately, that's the end result, and this damages social groups. It damages the health of the game and the longevity of the game, because a lot
I
of
mean,
times
she's
people will
right.
go play other games and they just
She's
won't come
completely
back.
right about that.
Seeing FFXIV go down this path where people feel less and less motivated or interested or incentivized at all to log in at end game, I think that it's really helpful to listen. I cannot believe I'm saying to Ian Hazuko's. Just hear me. I stand by this because he does explain really well why
Settle
it is
down.
important
Alright,
to
settle down.
incentivize players
We
somewhat to play the game that you're making. And this is from the interview that Mike from Preach Gaming had with Ian at Blizzard HQ about 6 months ago. And this particular part of the interview really stood out to me, because to me, I heard FFXIV all over this.
You know, our goal is never habit in the sense of like you have to log in when you don't want to. Our goal is for you to want to log in.
No, they failed on
to
that.
Want to play World of Warcraft
course,
and to
but...
look forward to getting back into the game, to have something you want to complete, something you want to chase. And if you're not wanting it, then getting you to do it despite that isn't a victory for us. It's just burning people out. And so I think giving people the freedom to feel like they can take a step away, do something in real life, play another game for a while without falling behind is valuable. I think the one thing that we do worry about when it comes to, you know, sort of the raid logging phenomenon, or
that's where a lot of people are at right now, the raid logging phenomenon, where people only log in to do raids and then they log out and then they don't touch the game for a week. And so when they're full BIS, they just don't play the game for the next fucking, well, at this point, the next fucking 8 months.
or people taking breaks, is the social nature of the game, is, you know, sort of the critical mass of keeping a group together. If the person who is really excited to log in to do things with their guildmates logs in and no one from their guild is online because of whatever reason, and then they just log back off kind of disappointed because they were hoping to play with friends but their friends weren't around.
Yeah, alright, so I feel like this is a really big issue for smaller FCs. If you're in a larger FC with a lot of people, it's not really a huge issue because there's plenty of people doing plenty of different things, right? If you're in a smaller one and all your like a really small, tight-knit group of people, and then people just stop logging in because they don't have anything to do, like right now, I fully expect this to happen.
Around, that can be an issue. And I think that's something, you know, going back to WoD, to Warlords of Draenor, that was probably the peak of the raid logging era, where really there was like, other than checking your garrison, if it wasn't raid night, there was nothing to do. That felt like...
It's not that there's nothing to do in FF14, it's that there's nothing new to be doing right now.
Like a step too, like too far toward that end of the spectrum.
We joked around whenever Endwalker came out that, oh, Island Sanctuary, that's going to be the garrison of Final Fantasy XIV. And I thought we were kidding, but we weren't.
I don't really know how garrison works. I've heard people talk about it.
Actually, this expansion reminds me a lot of Warlords of Draenor, which sucks because I quit World of Warcraft during Warlords of Draenor. Now, it's not as bad. It's not anywhere near as bad. But I'm sensing a lot of the same vibes.
I feel like from what I've heard of the garrison, it was just kind of lonely. And it was, from what I've heard about it, I can understand why people would compare Island Sanctuary to it. It is sort of a solo experience that nobody else really has a reason to go to, unless you're doing a social event at your island for some reason, which I would imagine has happened on a lot of like larger data centers, of course. But Materia, I really don't see anything like that. People just still do shit at their houses, not really at islands, right? It really is just a this is your island, no one else come here, please, sort of feeling.
And like I'm not even in an MMO anymore. One of the biggest reasons why Endwalker has felt pretty lonely and isolating in same ways that Warlords of Draenor felt to me all those years ago is the lack of an exploration zone, the lack of anything like Bajor.
I don't think that's a big issue.
Or Zadnor. We just don't have that, and
I genuinely don't believe the lack of an adventuring foray is an issue.
So much about like, oh well, I just love farming fates in Bajor. I just love hunting down little items that has a tiny drop rate, and it's not really even so much about the specific things there was to do in Basha. It's about the vibe of Eureka and Basha.
No,
It's a
I disagree. I don't think the lack of an adventuring foray like Bosnia or Eureka is the issue at all. We'll probably get into this more further, but just know for now the lack of something like Bosnia or Eureka by itself is not the issue.
about being in a zone filled with tons of other players that reminds you that you're in an MMO. That there's a lot of people playing the same game as you, and it's really exciting, and we're all happy to be there for different reasons. Like, you might be in
It is a
Basha
lot of fun.
because you're leveling, or because you're working on a relic, or because
Yeah,
you're
it
doing
is a lot of
duels,
fun
or
to
because
be
you're
there
collecting mounts,
and
or because you're farming
doing
gil,
stuff
or
with a
you're
lot
doing
of
cluster
people,
farming. There's
but
a ton of different reasons why all kinds of different people would meet in these places. And you might meet people that you wouldn't have known otherwise. You might meet people that were strangers to you before, but you have shared this common purpose, and then you meet more often, and that's how you make friends in the game. That's one of the beautiful things about an MMO. But with the content that they're releasing now, which is like solo stuff and small group stuff, you're usually going in there with people you know or alone. And it sucks because it's like, where else can you even show off your mount to other?
I can agree with that in terms of the solo stuff for Variant Dungeon. The fact that you can go into Variant solo really diminishes the amount of people actually doing that content. The fact that you can do it solo is so unfortunate. If you had to need people to do it and there was more reason to go in there after you've done your 12 notes, it would be just so much better.
Other players in the game. Like, you can't do it in the city. Basha was the place to do that. It's the place where everyone is. It's the place that's happening that makes you feel like, oh, there's something cool going on and everybody else is doing it and I can't wait to be there with them. That's the heart and soul of an MMO. And without that, it just feels really, really empty, frankly. And I definitely feel like the lack of a place like that where everyone is, that feels like it's popping off, like this is the place to be, it might contribute to, or even be, a self-fulfilling prophecy where you get it into your head, well, I barely see anyone else, and so this game is dead, right? Of course that is going to be reinforced.
Yeah, it definitely reinforces that idea for sure, where you don't see very many people, and so, or if you are not in a place where you would be seeing a lot of people, then you might be thinking that the game is dead because you're just not seeing as many people, and especially on Materia, right? Or on larger DCs like the NADC or the big EU one, it's probably not as big of an issue. But on Materia, if you're not in a large FC like me, and then you probably just don't see as many people, like unless you're living in Lemza the entire time, right? Even when you go into Bosnia, there's just not many people there, or Eureka. But if there was one now, you'd see a lot of people, and the game would feel a lot more alive to you. That part is true.
If you're not doing anything, you're not called to do anything where you can actually see tons of other players around. I've been finding myself happy to see lots of people standing around the Aetheryte. And that's about as far as it gets in me feeling like I'm in an MMO. And frankly, that's unacceptable. One of the reasons that we had those before, and we don't now, is because in the past, Eureka and Basha, these exploratory zones,
Well, it's
they were
hard to the
tied
relic
in
weapon.
with the relic journey. And for
Yeah.
whatever reason, not only did they choose to remove these zones from Endwalker completely, but they also removed the relic journey. There is no relic journey for.
Yeah. Now this is the big issue. This is the fucking unthinkable thing that they did here. This is the really big issue here, and why they did this, I don't know. But it's not just one thing. I'll let her continue for a second. It's not just one thing.
You cannot
it's
say
two or
that turning
three
in
things.
tomestones each time
Tomestones.
counts,
Yeah,
as
fucking
a relic.
tomestones.
So let me
Holy
explain if
shit.
you're new.
I'm gonna
In
lose
the
my
past,
mind.
in every other expansion of Final Fantasy XIV ever,
But like Heaven's Ward, like Stormblood, fucking Shadowbringers, a good relic journey. Fucking Heaven's Ward, A Realm Reborn, it was still something to do though.
The relic has been a very special weapon that has been a journey for you to get.
There was a lot of effort put into getting them,
completed
yes.
in stages, each stage becoming increasingly more cool looking, shiny. It transforms over time. And with each stage, you need to go grind some materials. You need to go, I don't know, farm fates, maybe do some dungeon or whatever to get the materials you need to upgrade it to the next stage. And so it's this long process that's meant to cover the entire expansion, and it really is casual content because at the very, very end of it, very end of the expansion, then you have a pretty good weapon. And it's a sparkly weapon.
On
and it
par
shows
with raid
that you
weapon.
had dedication and you had patience. So it's a great way for a casual player who maybe doesn't want to raid to get a really cool weapon that they can be proud of, that shows they were committed to this, and it's something to be proud of for sure. It always has been, but this is the first.
This is the first fucking time that they kind of got rid of that. There is no pride in getting a relic weapon at all because you don't have to do anything to get it. There is nothing you have to do to get your relic weapon. There's still one stage remaining for the Endwalker one, and if they make it something crazy, which they won't, it's going to be fucking times again, but if they do something crazy with it, hallelujah, we're slightly saved. But as it stands, it's not that much. Alright, if you look back at Heaven's Ward, a lot of that is just tome shit, right? Like, so it's not that crazy, not that exciting. However, there was more to do than just tomes. There was still more to do than just tomes. If this ends up just being tomes, it's going to be just such a slow, casual process. There is nothing to be excited about in getting your final Endwalker relic weapon. There's just nothing. You didn't really do anything for it. You just did your roulettes once a day. It's been the easiest thing to get multiple relics for in my life. Like, every single day I'm just like, oh shit, I can get a new relic step now. I fall asleep to that. It doesn't mean anything. It wasn't fun to do. I don't grind for it because there's nothing to grind for it. I just did my fucking roulettes that I was gonna do anyway, right? And so this ties into why not having an adventuring foray is an issue too. They don't have to have an adventuring foray in every expansion. That's not a bad thing. They don't have to have a grindy relic in every expansion. That's not a bad thing. But there's nothing to do if you don't do both of them, right? Or some replacement. They didn't do anything to replace not having those. There's no unique grind for people in Endwalker. There's nothing for people to really be like, I'm going to set my mind to doing this, and I'm going to do this. That doesn't exist in Endwalker. It just doesn't. All the unique grind, all the grinds in Endwalker are not unique. Let's look at the Wither mount from Fate Farming, or the wings as well that you get with the bicolored gemstones. You can buy the bicolored gemstone vouchers off the market board, so you don't even have to grind for it. So therefore, if you think about it, when you see someone on the Wither mount, do you think, holy shit, that person spent fucking so many 60 hours farming 3,600 fates to get this fucking mount? No, your immediate assumption is, oh, they bought the vouchers. They just bought them. When you see someone with the wings, you think, holy shit, you did that many fates to get that? No, you think, oh, well, they just bought it. When you see someone on the Criterion mounts, is your thought, holy fuck, you did fucking 25 Criterion runs to get that mount? You're insane. That's crazy. How long did it take you? No, they bought it, didn't they? And so when you have people actually going for those mounts and stuff, and doing the grinding for it, it gets diminished. And it disincentivizes people from doing that too, because then the thought is that people are just going to think, you just bought it. You didn't put in the time and effort to get that. There's no unique rewards. There's no unique grinds is the issue. All of these big grinds that could be in the game are instead just able to be bought off the market board. There's no relic weapon that requires your time. There's no adventuring foray that requires your time. There's nothing else that requires your time. You don't have to put in any effort into Endwalker's endgame. The only thing that you have to put effort into is raids. You get Biss and you're done. That's the issue with raiding in FF14, actually. You get Biss and you're done. You get Biss on multiple classes. It's fun, and Anabasios is a really good tier. But you get Biss and you're done. Kind of. Depending on how involved you are, of course. I'm still doing them, even though I've got, the 10 achievements, the 10 clear achievement and whatever. I really like the raids, but for most people, you get the clear and you're done. That's how it works.
Expansion where I have not heard shit from anybody about their relics, because the relics are in the game.
No one's talking about it because no one gives a shit.
For Endwalker. But to upgrade your relic this time, just turn in tomestones. And it's not even that many. In fact, most people...
1,500 tomestones.
You haven't been spending tomestones.
Me.
And that's it.
Me.
It's literally a tomestone weapon. There's no cool, there's no process, really, to get it anymore. There's no journey. They just...
There is no effort required to get it.
I do not understand. We have tomestone weapons already. Why do we need another worse tomestone weapon?
She do be speaking facts, though.
I am truly baffled by this decision. By them to get rid of this thing that also served the very important purpose of keeping people engaged with the game.
I couldn't have said it better myself. I think I did fucking say it.
Thing that it gave you something to do between patches. For example, I think it was at the end of Stormblood where there was a big content drought, like a giant one, and I'm pretty sure it was end of Stormblood. And somebody had asked Yoshi P, what do we do? Waiting. It's such a long drought. What do we do? Waiting.
Well, you could go and get all the relic weapons. Well, what the I can't get... It doesn't take that long to get all the relic weapons. You do a fucking hunt drain a day, you do your roulettes a day, and you get all your relics weapons in a month.
So the next expansion, and he said, oh, just get every relic weapon. And people were kind of mad at him at the time, because it was kind of a cop-out answer, but it was a valid answer, because getting each one...
It's something to do in the game.
The purpose
that
it served in the past was to keep you busy waiting for the content. But without that, it's almost like they deliberately are now choosing to not have you play the game between the patches. This is the first expansion in all my years of playing FFXIV that I don't even know what my relic looks like. I don't know. And my friends who normally send me screenshots of, look, I just got the new relic for my job, and oh, I just got another relic. It's usually a thing. No
one gives a shit anymore. I've seen one person in my FC who has posted a picture of their relic. One person out of 400 and something people. Because no one gives a fuck anymore. They just don't. It doesn't take effort or skill or anything required to get it. You just do your expert or leveling roulette once a day. The longest part of that is doing the Hildebrand quests.
It's a big deal. It's like a big milestone every time that you get your relic and you upgrade it, because it's hard to do. Nobody I know is even getting a relic. Nobody's even going after it now, because it's not cool. Because
people are going after it. They're just not going after
because
it.
It's just anyone can get it. So
there's just no value to it.
What does it say? Why would they remove this? It just feels like laziness. Frankly, it feels like maybe they
people are trying to say they're doing it because of the FF16
put the lowest amount of effort into it as possible.
Development.
They really phoned it in, and frankly, it's shameful, because this is not what the relic is meant to be. It is meant to be something to keep you busy for a little longer, but it also feels like it's a deliberate choice that they do not want people even logging in that much. They just don't want you to feel like you need to log in at all. It's crazy. Now, the next thing that it pains me to say, because I am an MSQ Andy. I live for the main story quest of FFXIV, and that will never change. But I have never been more disappointed with the main story quest than I have in this expansion's
I think it's fine.
patches. Now, I loved 6.0. I thought it was great. But
6.0
the
was
patches
fantastic.
definitely
Yes.
left a lot to be desired. And I was
I think the patches
really
are fine.
patient and forgiving for the first couple of major patches. I thought,
I think
well,
they're fine.
you know, they're setting up for something else.
But there was one bit which really I did not like. It was all the Garlemald shit in like 6.3 or whatever. When you 6.4 maybe it was. I don't even fucking remember it. It was so slow and boring. When they're trying to be like, no, we're Garlemaldians and we deserve to be political people and have our own say. Yeah, just I didn't like it.
Just getting
It was
ready
so
to
slow.
pivot, and there's meant to
It
be
didn't
a
go
bit of a
anywhere.
lull between what's
Eventually, they
going
were
on
just
in
like,
the next
okay, we
thing,
made a
blah, blah, blah,
deal.
blah, blah. But looking back, I feel like I was just kind of making excuses. And I don't want to say that all of the story and every moment in the whole story was terrible. No, because there were good moments. There was a lot of really nice moments. Like
The moments with
with
Zero are all really nice. I don't remember that.
Doing the
She's horny.
protects us, really nice.
She's too horny.
But,
She's too horny.
I feel like it is shameful
None
and
of that.
obvious that they, instead of making the trial series side series like we have had with Sorrow of Wirelate or Four Lords in the past, they instead chose to make it the main story quest. They made the trial series the main story quest. We don't have a trial series. We do not have a side series of story of the trial.
I don't think that's too bad overall. I think it's perfectly fine to have all the trials tied in with the MSQ. They haven't really done it before. No, they haven't really done it before, so I think overall it's fine. I don't think it's an issue. They were doing something new. Again, okay, so first of all, it makes it more predictable, right? Because if you know that there's going to be an MSQ trial every single patch, it makes it just way more predictable. Overall, that's not a very bad thing, right? Like, it's not the worst thing in the world to do that. The issue is when that's the only thing in the game to do, now you're running into problems.
Trial bosses, because they have just put it right into the main story quest. So that's less content. Not only is it less story content overall for us, but
I don't know, it doesn't make it less story content overall. I guess because you remove the side story, but I don't think. Yeah. So I would agree that you end up getting less story. You just get a bit more main story, kind of.
it's way less interesting. Because as soon as we were aware,
Because instead of these things being just like a dungeon boss, you get an actual fight of the boss, and you end up being able to get a little bit more around the boss itself.
that there were these archfiends at the very beginning of the expansion.
Everyone
We
knew
exactly
it'd
what
be
was
the
gonna happen.
trials.
Some people
Yeah,
are saying,
everyone
oh,
knew.
well, it's just because 6.0 big arc ended, and then we got a new arc starting in Dawn Trail, and so this is just in between, so you can't expect anything good. That's honestly bullshit.
I can expect good things.
Being
It
constrained in time to
deliver
tell the story
greatly, but
usually means
it was fine.
that it's going to be easier to tell a good story if you spend enough time really plotting that out.
I don't know.
Considering it.
I don't know if I agree with that in terms of the patch length, right? So in terms of expansions, they spend a lot of time developing the story for the expansion, and that drops, right? In terms of patch content, they don't have all or as much time. Obviously, they're developing it towards the end of the patch, like the first couple patches, and they know where they're going to go. They don't have as much time as they do when developing an expansion story.
That's one of the major reasons why I often say Shadowbringers was such a solid story expansion, because they needed to tell the entire story of a planet from beginning, middle, and end within the course of one expansion. So there's all
Within the
people
course
there's
of
huge
a
climax,
lot
and then
of
you need to wrap it all
hours.
up before you go. And this made it really satisfying as its own package. So sometimes constraining the story is really, really good because you can get all the juice in better. But it feels like they really took a lazy path.
It was an
to
emotional
be quite
heartstring
and
tugging.
they decided,
That's
won't it
what
be so
that was.
convenient for us to just do callbacks to huge story moments in FF4, try to recreate those, And a lot of times it felt forced, and it felt like we're just artificially trying to recreate this moment from FF4.
They're trying to do
That got me very
FF4.
frustrated.
Yeah.
And we can, instead of having a side story series like Sorrow of Wirlit, which I know that's a tough act to follow.
Right.
We'll just make that the main story quest instead. That has sucked. The story has gotten so predictable that in the previous live letter, they even told us who the next boss was going to be because they know that we know.
I don't think that's a huge issue or an issue at all. I wouldn't agree that's a really big issue. Yeah, sure, they've like tried to hide it, for things. Everyone obviously knew would be fighting Zeromus next. I don't think it's a huge issue that everyone knows. We all knew immediately it was an FF4 storyline. It was fine. The story overall was fine. These next 2 patches are going to be focusing on Zero more than anything else. It's okay. It's not the worst it could have been, right? Like it's not bad or anything. It's just kind of I don't know. She said predictable. It is very predictable, right? We all knew what was going to happen and everything, but as far as what people know for the next couple patches, we've got some ideas. Like my thoughts are sort of along the lines of Zero's gonna kind of come back to the light or whatever, like consider the patch name and everything. She's gonna come back to the light, and she'll probably be a companion with us during Dawn Trail and whatnot, right? She's gonna kind of be a complementary scion, if you will. We can already kind of predict that, right? Because in a way, the patches of an expansion are somewhat predictable in a way. As soon as you get a general sense of where the idea is going, you've got 4 months to speculate on where it's going to go, so you can kind of predict where it's going. This is kind of been the worst one because it's completely based on FF4, but in other expansions, it's kind of been the same as well.
And they did it for the last one too. Usually it's like a big secret, like, ooh, we can't even tell you who the new trial boss is going to be because it's going to be this huge story moment, but that really hasn't happened this time. And it sucks.
Yeah, it hasn't. It hasn't.
Sorrow of Wirlit was absolutely amazing.
It's good.
I cried at the end. That's the Shadowbringers trial story series. And honestly, it feels like they took a really easy way out with the main story quests for these patches. The better parts were slice of life stuff. Zero being a character who we like.
It was nice.
And is generally pretty well received. And the moments getting
her
to know
trying the
Tony
non-bread was pretty nice. Yeah.
So that gives me hope for Dawn Trail because I think it's going to be more like that stuff. But God,
you gotta stop showing that clip.
Stretched out, and it's felt like a filler, and that has not been fun. That has not really been very engaging for me. Now, the next thing. I know this is rough, man. The next thing, Island Sanctuary. I literally do not know a single person that is excited and happy with how Island Sanctuary turned out. In fact, even when it first came out, I remember everybody was kind of shocked that, like, because we thought, we're going to go there and it's going to be this relaxing island getaway vacation. And we get there and it's a fucking management sim like spreadsheet thing where you need to...
It's not that bad to do this. This isn't that bad of a system. The issue with it is that once you get all the stuff, there's nothing to keep you going back. There's no reason for you to go back. That's the problem. And it is so easy to get all this stuff. It's not hard in the slightest. If they put something in the rewards, or a lot of rewards, that cost like 100 or 500,000 calories, you would have people going back there every single day. I don't know anyone going back there every single day a couple of weeks after the patch drops because they've already got all this stuff.
Assign work schedules to all the little robots, and it's just like, what? The general
I don't have a problem with that.
Wait, we're here to work? This isn't what I expected at all. You're there by yourself. There's really no reason to go to someone else's island. Almost a garrison. Yeah, it's the garrison of FFXIV. Only, honestly, less fun than the garrison was. It's less interesting than the garrison. You level up for several hours, and then when you're done, you can
You do
fill out
your
the spreadsheet
little
after
Excel
a workshop.
spreadsheet, and
You can have that done in 15 minutes once a week, and then you really
you gather the
if you're really
remaining
into it,
island
that's as
lava
much
that
time
you
as it's
need.
really gonna take.
That's what I'm
But
always
you
low
don't-
on.
There's really no reason to do it once you have the mounts and like outfits and stuff that you wanted.
Hmm.
And
And so then you just leave and you don't come back.
Really doesn't affect anything else. So there's no reason to go to anyone else's sanctuary. And probably the best thing that they did for it was add it so you could put outdoor furnishings there. So I mean,
Although I don't know anyone that
that's
goes to
okay,
anybody else's
but
island
that's
either.
kind of not what it was meant to do. Because we have housing. Not everyone does, so that's why this is good. But
It was kind of meant
as
to be a housing
replayable
replacement, right?
content,
That's kind of what they were going.
it's just not it.
It's
The
not
Pandemonium
replayable.
raid story was better.
Very
than the main story
good.
quest. There was a couple weird champ raids here and there, but by and large, I've
Fucking
enjoyed it.
fucking tree.
And that's
Don't
the
lose
thing
my
that
goddamn
probably enjoy
mind.
most in the game right now. I don't think it compares to Eden, but it's still solid and fine. It's good. It's good.
I liked it more than Eden.
We could talk about the 2-minute meta
It's
all day, but this is
subjective
really,
opinion.
No,
I like
we're
it
not
more
going to
than
do that right
Eden,
now. I don't even want to get into
Except
it right
fucking
now, 'cause it's a
Athena.
whole can of worms, and it's not going away.
P12S.
anytime
Fucking
soon.
stupid.
The Native Dungeon
Easy.
is
Good.
okay.
It's
Um,
good.
It's not great for leveling, unfortunately, which is one of the main reasons that people do Deep Dungeon.
Is it? Is it
over
though?
and over for longevity. For replayability, you might notice a trend here where
Eureka Orthos
we're
is
just-
fine.
the
I like it.
replayability is not a thing. It also feels like they didn't add enough things that were fresh and new to Deep Dungeon, which is sad because Deep
They
Dungeon I
could do
feel
a
like
lot more
is
with it. Yeah.
some of the best potential for content in the game that has replayability and longevity, and I really wanted them to add better, more involved progression system within Deep Dungeon. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, just the Aether pool shit.
I don't even know.
You just
We
go
need to
and you
get
just
more
do
of
it. You
those,
just
like,
grind out your
I
Aether
wish
pool
they
for a
would just
bit
be
and then
little
it's
bit more
done.
creative with it.
You
Um,
could do a lot
because
more
right
with
now, I
it. That's
just
what I'm
don't know
saying.
anyone
Yeah.
that's interested in it. Leveling up at it, your Aether pool armor is really a pain in the ass, and it feels like it's not worth it because it doesn't really affect anything.
Not
The
in Eureka
rewards aren't
Orthos
really
anyway.
there to incentivize people to do it.
Everything in Eureka
Not in terms-
Orthos is everything in Eureka Orthos is mechanic based. So your like the enemies in there don't really do auto attack damage. So your armor is not really a thing.
The content that has come out in this expansion, I'd say Deep Dungeon is alright. Like, it's not that bad. It's one of the better ones. This is
pretty
the
good.
most tragic case, though. Variant and Criterion. Because the content is good. Everybody
Variant is very good. Criterion is fucking great. Criterion Savage is perfect. It's good as it should be. They should not change Criterion Savage. I don't care what people say. Having to do Criterion Savage more than once would be fucking painful, and I would not like to do it. Criterion, if that was a thing that people were made to do more than just to get them out, yes, please, more of that. I like Criterion a lot. Variant, I like Variant a lot. Yes.
agrees the content is good. The fights are well designed.
Hmm.
It's innovative. It's fresh. It's like, oh, you got to think about how you're going to pull the mobs around, and that has been a breath of fresh air. That they have tried to do something new and different.
It's good.
But it's like they take half measures with innovation. They're afraid to risk too much. Change up the formula.
If they gave you a weekly lockout on Criterion, the same way they do for Savage raids, so that if you did the Criterion every week and you got a totem or some token that you could exchange for an augmentation material, for example, that would be excellent.
Too much. It seems like they were terrified to add anything into Criterion that, like, any kind of new item that you could get through it, anything that might screw up the strict itemization schedule that they
Yeah.
have, where certain
Yeah.
types of items drop from the Alliance raid. And
You
certain
must
types of
get
items
your
drop from the
Savage
dungeon, and it
raid
has to be a
gear
specific
and
item
then
level, and
get
they don't
your
want to include
tome
all the
gear
anything
and
that's
that's
gonna
it.
drop anywhere
If you do
else, it's
anything
gonna be
else.
different. And I think they're really crippling their game by not providing. If they're not going to do the gear rewards from this stuff, I don't know, like find something else to make.
You can buy the fucking mount off the market board. Why? Why can you buy the mount off the market board? That was a mistake. Making it not unique to the dungeon itself is such a fucking mistake. It's so bad.
People go do. I don't know, maybe related to a relic, but they chose to take that out of the game this time too. So there's just no reward. There's no reward that anyone cares about in Criterion. Yes, there's like this mount, but you can buy that with guild. So
You
it
can
kinda
buy
doesn't
it with
really
Gil.
mean anything. It doesn't mean that you've cleared
You
it.
can buy it
doesn't
with
mean
fucking
much.
Gil.
It's a shame.
You see someone
in
on
all
it
my
and they
years of
just
playing,
bought it with
I've never
fucking
seen
Gil.
brand new piece of content die so fast. Brand new content, and in less than a week, no one cared. In fact, I remember
They
the
just
day
RMT'd to
Criterion
get the
came out
fucking
first time, the
Shishioji
ass
mount,
out.
man.
And I had taken my time logging in that day, and when I logged in, I saw my friend had already got the silky mount.
It takes fucking 2 hours to get all 12 routes. And then you never touch variant
so they were
again.
actually done with variant before I could even log in the same day that it came out. There's no reason to return. You can be done with it in a couple of hours.
Now, I still do it because on Materia, the fucking shit from variant sells for like 500k each. So, very good way of getting guild. But
And that's frankly unacceptable in an MMO where you want people to be playing together. But I guess maybe they don't. Maybe they just don't want that anymore. I don't know.
Maybe they don't.
PvP changes and addition of crystalline conflict is one of the
Good.
more positive things that I think have
We
happened
like
in
it.
this expansion.
We don't like frontline. Fucking Dark Knight needs a goddamn nerf, and so does Dragoon.
But these series, Momstones rewards.
Fuck! I'm gonna get so goddamn mad at this series. Oh, Square Enix, you're gonna get another fucking video in a second, I swear to God. But this shit series, is it bad on its own? No. But the fact that everything is fucking time limited FOMO shit. Why the fuck do you not just add all of this shit to the fucking Crystal Trophy vendor? Like all these unique rewards and shit. Add it to the fucking Crystal Trophy vendor when the series is over or after the next series even. It's so fucking stupid that you leave this shit as time limited stuff. It's so time gatekeep that it's not funny. You have to do this or you don't get the rewards from it. Add it to the fucking PvP vendor. That will keep people engaged. What are you doing?
PvP rewards.
So stupid.
People engaged with
It's insane.
PvP long term. You can knock it all out in a week or two if you
Add
try.
it to the
So
fucking
people that
vendor.
do casual. I mean, that still pops fairly often. But if
That's
you,
the issue.
If you, don't,
You get the mount from the fucking series, right? And then it's like, oh, well, I got it. I don't have to do anything else in the series. If you didn't do the series because you just started playing last month or whatever, so you missed series 2 and 3 and 1 even, you don't get the shit from it. And it's so disincentivizing. Or you've added so much shit into the game that's just like, well, you don't have to do it now. You can just do it in fucking 3 years' time. And it's the exact same thing. But this, you're making this time limited. Add this shit to the vendor. Add this shit to the vendor. God damn. Make people play PvP to get it. Don't make it marketable except maybe the attire or whatever. Right? Like the glamour chests. But go add the fucking mount to the vendor. Don't make it marketable. Add the goddamn minions to the vendor. Don't make it marketable. It would make it just better. It would just make it better.
on casual, it can get kind of boring.
You're just trolling yourself
Ranked
because
is
you're adding
probably
shit into the game
funniest
that's
in
not
my
obtainable after
opinion.
fucking 3
And,
months.
Ranked players, they do this in the first couple weeks and then they are gone. There's no further incentive to do it anymore after that. And so, yeah, anytime I complain about it, people just say, oh, well, if you're playing FFXIV for the PvP...
If you play it for the PvP, it plays the wrong game. It's got fucking PvP in it, so they should make the PvP good.
Tired of this
That's
debate is
not
sad,
a
to be
fucking
frankly.
request.
There's also people who
That's not a
do not
statement to
want
make that is good. That's not a good statement to make at all. If your game has PvP, your PvP should be good, or it shouldn't have PvP. If you're playing it for the PvP, you played it for the wrong reasons. It's got PvP in it, so why am I not allowed to play it for the PvP?
the game to ask you to do more. Let me tell you something. You don't need
No,
the game to not have stuff in it.
I don't really play PvP. I do it a bit, and then I'm kind of like, oh, I've had my time for the, But for the people that really do like it, it better be good.
For you to walk away when you're tired. You can just walk away when you're tired.
Shit.
Unfortunately, the FF14 community has developed a little bit of a reputation for not being able to
Oh,
take
they
racism
stick
at
up for
all,
the game too much and
this
for the
is
devs
really
too much.
damaging to the game as well.
I think the
We
devs
need to
overall
be
are really
able to
good, and they do a
discuss
really
when
good job of
things don't
shit, but
feel right,
far
don't feel
out.
as good as they used to.
Everyone's
And I almost
sucking
feel
their
like
dicks
people want
constantly.
to say that they're burnt out
Holy
because
shit.
it's easier for others to accept than for them to say, the content this time wasn't fun enough for me. The content didn't make me want to play.
It wasn't
the content
engaging.
wasn't something I was excited to do. It's almost like that in itself is a taboo for some people to say. And it's easier for them to accept, well, maybe it's on me. It's just I'm personally tired of the game. And I think in a lot of cases,
No,
maybe that's not true.
they have dropped the ball.
Because
She's completely
I've never
right.
seen
They've
this
dropped the
many people
ball.
claim to be burnt out, and I think it actually has a lot to do with the content more than people are willing to admit. And I'm tired of hearing people say, whenever we bring up these complaints or any kind of criticism about the game and why I want to be able to play it more, but I can't. I'm tired of hearing people say, well, we don't want this to be a game where it's just this huge grind where you need 30 hours.
You don't want it to be a huge grind. You want there to be a grind. You want there to be something for you to do. The issue with Endwalker, and I said this fucking 30 minutes ago, whatever, I don't know how long I've been going for now. You want there to be something for you to be constantly working towards. Relics aren't doing it this time because they made it nothing. There is no adventuring foray. Variant and Criterion don't require you to do that. And every other unique grind they've added in Endwalker, or every other grind they've added in Endwalker, isn't unique. You can just buy it off the market board. That's the problem. It's fine to not have an adventuring foray. It's fine to not to just do a tome relic. You can't do all of this at the same time, or people aren't going to have something to do.
A week to stay up to date. No one is saying that. Stop jumping to this huge extreme conclusion. I hate that people keep doing this. It's driving me crazy. Like, just because I say that I would like a very the lightest possible pressure to please maybe log in today or this month, that doesn't mean I want to go full balls to the wall, Shadowlands, renown grinds. I don't want that. No one wants that. No one's asking for that. So stop saying that. What we are saying is that we want to play together. We want to feel like the game is an exciting place to be, at least sometimes, at least for maybe 1-2 weeks after the major patch came out. Okay? I don't want to see people falling off and saying they're bored like a week after patch. This is not normal. Okay, I've been around playing this game
exactly.
for long
I see
enough to
so
know
many
what's
people
normal and
saying
what
this
isn't.
now,
And
and
this
it's not
isn't.
okay.
I'm seeing really
It's actually not
unhealthy signs
okay.
right now, and I think this lack of attention to the game from the devs, that's really what it seems like. It seems like laziness, and this hesitation to criticize the game at all on behalf of the player base is going to kill the game eventually. Now, I said I don't want to be a doomer, and I don't think the game is dying, but these are things that we need to nip in the bud before they get out of hand. You need to be able to admit whenever the content itself.
Whenever they've dropped the ball, and they've dropped the ball on Endwalker Endgame. It's true, they have. They could have done so much better. They just haven't. The content is perfectly fine, and in fucking when next expansion comes out, people are really going to be enjoying this expansion's content, of course, right? They're going to be looking back at it and be like, hell yeah, it's so easy for me to get these relics because it just costs me a couple poetics to get one. But for doing it at the present time, that's the problem, right? Having to do it now is the problem because there isn't much to do now. because it isn't anything that requires you to be playing the game now. That's the problem.
Worse. It's that simple. We're not comfortable with that.
It'll look really good in the future.
Because
It
usually,
will.
every expansion is like the goose laying the golden egg. It's usually pretty damn good. And I'm willing to accept that it's impossible for any game to keep your attention nonstop all the time. That's not what we're asking for either.
Yeah.
What I do want is to not see most of my friends say things like, well, I guess I'll just come back in Dawn Trail. Now, some people are saying, oh, well, it's just because they were so busy working on an FF16 that they had to cut some
No, they
corners.
weren't.
I don't know if that's true, and frankly, I don't care.
They started working on the fucking game in, like, Heaven's Ward Stormblood. If it was gonna show, it would have shown then, like, they would have been doing some, like, last-minute fucking grinding in Endwalker, sure, but it wouldn't have mattered.
Because the fact is, a lot of people are saying it. And if a lot of people feel that way, then it's unacceptable. Maybe Yoshi P's attention has been divided. I mean, he is on the board of directors. He tried to get off it, and they won't let him for some reason. He had been working on FF16, and he's trying to do director producer of FF14. I just feel like it's too much. They're working this man too damn hard. And he needs to stop doing everything else that he's got his attention split on and focus on FF14. Give it his full, undivided attention for Dawn Trail, because I don't ever want to hear anybody saying again, making excuses for them as to why the content.
So they're doing, they're making excuses instead of fucking realizing what the problem is.
I hope I can really get across to you in this video is that this isn't black and white. It shouldn't be a choice between so much pressure to log in that there's like FOMO even. That you have to log in right now or you're missing out. There's somewhere better to be between that and...
And they've done so well in past expansions have just completely failed with Endwalker in that regard.
Because they're constantly being barraged.
They just completely dropped the ball on the balance between FOMO and engagement.
People have a limited amount of time. And I'm sorry to say, but FFXIV needs to fight a little bit harder for people's time and not take it for granted that people will just always come back and always play. And like, yes, maybe they will for the expansions, but what about the rest of the time? One thing I would say also as another little addendum, DSR was probably the best experience I've ever had in gaming. Clearing DSR, the ultimate raid that came out in Endwalker, was the most fun I've ever had in a game, period. It was phenomenal. It showed me just how amazing battle content in FFXIV can be. It showed me that the game can be so thrilling and so engaging and so exciting. When the battle...
I remember that when she cleared that, and then she went into top, she got super burnt out doing top. Because I remember she went a lot more hardcore for that, and I remember them saying that they kept like a notebook of people's wipes, and we made jokes about that and all that, right? Like when someone died in my top static, would just be like, oh shit, I gotta add that to the notebook or whatever. You know, we had some banter or whatever. Oh, that's such a bad way to run it, right? So she got really burnt out on that, I remember. But DSR, really good.
Content is
Pop's fine too, by the way. Like design-wise, people like I can understand all the issues people have with it, but clearing it is fun still.
It keeps you like invested and engaged, and like your choices matter. And that was so incredible for me. And so I know how good the game can be. And maybe because of that experience, I continue to set a very high standard for it, and I want them to do the same. Now, that is not actually all I have to say about this topic, but the next part of this discussion is about the casual experience, and that's going to be my next video, because what I've noticed is seems like some people like to say, oh, well, it's all for the casuals. They're just dumbing down the game for the casuals. And I got news for you. The casual experience is really suffering as well.
I don't think they're dumbing it down for the casuals. I think they're just dumbing it down.
And I know some of y'all are not going to be happy that I made a negative video, a critical video. But the next one is also going to be pointing out
it was a good video.
But I really hope that you can get
all of this needed to be said, to be honest.
With constructive criticism of the game. We need this. We all need to get real cool about it real quick if we want this game to really thrive, because we need to hear from all sides. We need to hear from all perspectives. And I can hear the canary in the coal mine, is what I'm saying. And I want positive change. And so we're never going to get that if we just plug our ears and close our eyes and act like, oh, everything's perfect all the time.
Yeah.
It's stupid.
That's true.
Well, thank you so much for watching.
That's very true.
I'll see you in the next one.
Alright, I will
Please
see
tell me
you in the
about
next
your
one. She said she's
thoughts
gonna make a
on
video about the
the
casual
Endwalker.
content. I'll fucking watch that for sure. But holy shit! Look at that like to dislike ratio. People are really not happy with this. Why? They're not the thing to be doing for your Endwalker relic. Yes, true. I think overall everything she said was mostly spot on, to be honest. I don't know why everyone like the actual root cause of it is I disagree with it a little bit. Like the issue isn't that there's no adventuring foray or there's no relic weapon. It's all of that stuff combined, right? But the trial series by itself, that's not that bad, right? But it's everything at once. That's the problem. So why are people disliking it? I think overall her video was really solid, and I would agree with pretty much everything she said. So I don't know what everyone's complaining about to be, you know, like that's a lot of dislikes to have for a video like this, where she pretty much summed up a lot of things. I think for the rest it could have been mixed by times and tie them to the variants. I don't think variants give enough stuff to make it interesting enough to keep people doing it. Maybe it would be good, but it'd have to be implemented correctly. Yeah, I'm not sure. But overall, no, really, really, really good video, and I enjoyed it a lot. Everything she said was pretty much spot on with how I feel about a lot of it too. They could be doing just so much more with it. They did everything at the exact same. They did everything in these same expansions of making relics tomes only. Such a mistake. The adventuring foray, it's fine to not have one. You can't have no adventuring. You can't have all of this stuff not be in it, because now people just aren't going to be doing anything except all the old stuff. And if you've already done all the old stuff, then there's nothing for you to be doing, is the problem. Alright, I've said about all I need to say. If you like this video, you can leave a like, you can leave a comment, you can disagree with me in the comments if you like. You can subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. This was, streamed on Twitch. You can find me on Twitter as well. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.